Welcome to MMA on the Rocks. My name is Bill Welker. You are listening to episode 140 of the podcast. Today is Sunday, May the 12th, Mother's Day. So a very happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there who are doing the right thing, including my beautiful wife, who is letting me take time out of her special day to do a podcast for all of you. So I hope you guys appreciate it if you're regular listeners. And of course, happy Mother's Day to my mom and my mother-in-law. And I was fortunate enough to have my mom in town for Mother's Day this weekend. She's here staying with me. So she's actually watching my child while I do this show. And one more happy Mother's Day wish to go out to someone out there. But before I do that, I have to introduce my co-host all the way from New Jersey, Jeff, the Animal Wilson. Jeff, how you feeling on this Mother's Day, my man? And a very happy Mother's Day to Mrs. Animal Wilson.
Thanks, Bill. And happy Mother's Day to your mom, to the missus. Happy Mother's Day to all the awesome moms out there. Bill, it is a chilly, rainy Mother's Day here in New Jersey. So my mom and I are just going to hang out at home, probably order some food, watch some movies. I mean, what are you going to do? But someone who's going to have more time to be at home, Bill, before we get into anything, is Rose Namajunas. So I'm sorry to spoil it for you, Bill, but I had been texting you all week that I was worried for Rose. And I mean, but before we get into that, Bill, well, what do you got planned for the missus today?
Oh, we're all going out. We're going to get some brunch in Tampa. Mother-in-law, my mom, and the missus, the baby, the whole crew. We're all going to meet up, everybody together. I mean, they call it brunch, but we're going at 3:30 in the afternoon. So I don't know. I don't really know what that qualifies as, but I was told it's brunch, so that's what we're going with.
Bill, actually, before we go any further, brunch is one of my favorite meals, Bill, because I can have steak and eggs at the same time, same plate, throw some greens in there. We're all set.
Yeah, I mean, I'm of the opinion that you could do that anytime. I mean, if you want eggs for dinner, like, I don't really know what qualifies as breakfast foods, like what, like fucking pancakes. That's dessert. That's not that's not breakfast. That's not like a nutritious meal. You put maple syrup and butter all over it. That's confectioner sugar. That's dessert. Waffles. You put fucking ice cream on it. So I don't know who made up these rules, but you know how we roll on this show, Jeff. You drink what you like, the way you like it, and you eat what you like, the way you like it, when you like it, because that's how we roll on this show. Yeah, let's get into some MMA because we got a lot to go over. There was a lot going on this weekend. We had UFC, we had Bellator, we got another UFC card coming up next week. No breaks. So I did not, unfortunately, get to watch UFC 237 live because I was attending a wedding of some friends last night in Tampa. It was a really nice time. I was out late and then up early because the baby was up early. And, since it's Mother's Day, had to take care of the kiddo so mom could sleep in and recover from the wedding festivities from last night. So I was very groggily trying to watch the MMA action that took place last night. Early this morning, far earlier than I should have been trying to retain anything. But from what I remember, Jeff, there were some pretty exciting events that went on, including the fact that we have a new women's strawweight champion in Jessica Andrade. And you were worried because Rose Namajunas was so focused on planting cucumbers that she may not have what it takes to get in here with a ferocious fighter like Jessica Andrade. And you know what? Rose looked phenomenal in the first round. I think it was dominant. She picked her apart. She was chipping her up every time she tries to close the distance. Her counter striking looked awesome. She was landing that counter hook at will, and she was chipping Andrade's face up a little bit. And the first time Andrade tried to make Namajunas airborne, Rose was able to clamp up that Kimura trap and, avoid getting slammed too hard. But second time, not so much luck. Give me your thoughts on this main event here, Jeff.
Yeah, dude, Rose Namajunas looked phenomenal in that first round, really using that jab to keep Jessica Andrade away from her, which was what we were talking about last week. Andrade wanted to be, excuse me, in Namajunas' face, putting pressure on her. And Rose did a phenomenal job of avoiding all that with the jab. Her footwork was looking really good. She was getting in on some really good angles on Jessica Andrade. But in that second round, man, Jessica Andrade figured out how to get around that Kimura trap. She broke the grip, then moved her head outside and re-gripped so that she had both of her hands on one of Rose Namajunas' wrists, and then lifted her. And Bill, I was really concerned when I saw the slam, dude. If you haven't watched it, go back and check it out. It's a really good slam, and it looks a little savage, but Jessica Andrade is using great technique. You can tell she's using all the power in her legs to lift Rose Namajunas. And the way she fell, Bill, I thought that maybe Rose had re-injured her neck, which we were talking about last week. She was coming up off an injury to her neck. She had to get surgery for it, I believe. So I was a little concerned, but Rose seems okay. My biggest issue with all this, Bill, was at the end in the post-fight interview, Rose Namajunas said that it was a pressure off her. She sounded almost relieved to have lost the championship. And I know people are saying, it's a lot of pressure that she's not used to. But to me, Bill, it just sounded like she was a little ungrateful. There are people who work their whole lives for this, and Uriah Faber comes to mind first, and never become a UFC champion despite all these tries. So to me, Rose sounded just a little ungrateful.
All right. So interesting take. I have to disagree with you on 2 counts, Jeff, and this is a rarity. We don't often disagree, but nothing bad. So I like your take on it. I think it's interesting. The first disagreement I have, I don't really believe it was all technique in that slam from Andrade. I saw she was really lifting with her back, and it was brute strength, and it was a phenomenal display of brute strength. And a lot of people were concerned that this spiking Rose on her neck was illegal. I just want to clarify that real quick. Since Rose had the Kimura trap locked up, that is a legal slam. You can spike your opponent on their head. If Rose had let go of that Kimura trap, which was tough to do because her arms were tangled up and Jessica had kind of pinned them in there. But if Rose were able to let go, that would be an illegal maneuver. You cannot just spike your opponent on their neck like that in the UFC. And that's clearly stated in the rules that if an opponent has a submission locked up, you could do whatever it takes to get out of it. Including spiking them on their head. So it's a scary thing to see, though, especially for someone who has a neck injury. That's not something you want to see as part of sport, as part of something that's meant to be competitive combat sports. But this isn't a dangerous sport that we all enjoy. And the other reason I didn't see it as technique from the slam was because Rose did have that Kimura trap locked up, and you shouldn't be able to pick somebody up who's putting leverage on your shoulder like that. You even heard Dominic Cruz right before Jessica picked her up say she won't be able to pick her up here because of the Kimura trap, and then up she went and down she went twice as fast as she went up. And that's largely true. What was interesting was, in order to execute that Kimura trap, which is supposed to be a reversal to the takedowns, if somebody gets in on a single leg, you have to push their head down, you lock up that Kimura trap, and then you have to step your far leg in between your opponent's 2 legs and kind of roll as they try to pick your leg up, and that will flip them head over heels. And you should end up on top if everything goes, textbook with that move. But Rose wasn't able to step that far leg in because her legs came off the ground. And I thought it was a spectacular display of strength by Jessica Andrade. The second thing, as far as the championship thing, I don't know if I necessarily disagree. I guess I just didn't think about it that way as her being ungrateful, because I remember when Matt Hughes lost his championship to BJ Penn, he kind of said the same thing. He didn't say it so publicly. He said it more quietly. I think in a later interview, he said it was a relief to lose the championship, and he wanted to work back and get it again. But he said, when people expect you to win all the time, it's a lot of pressure, and he was glad to have that pressure off of him a little bit. So I guess I kind of was thinking about that mentality when Rose said, it's a lot of pressure off, because it is, it's a lot of media obligations and added things that you don't think about that are going to happen to you when you become the champion. All the good things that come with it, bigger pay scale, more notoriety and everything like that. But, I think Rose likes to live a very humble lifestyle, planting cucumbers in her garden and things like that. She doesn't like to be a celebrity, but, like you said, that comes with the territory. And you kind of have to be grateful to be in that position. I did see some headlines with Rose saying stuff in the post-fight press conference, like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore, but let's relax as far as digging too far into those statements, because she just did get slammed viciously on her head. So you can't really, there's a lot of emotions there. She went into enemy territory, fought a Brazilian pit bull in Brazil, and she got knocked out pretty viciously. So let's not be too quick to try and interpret her words right after that. Any other thoughts on this main event, Jeff?
No, but I just hope that this isn't Rose's swan song here. She's a great fighter. She looked phenomenal in there up until the slam. So I hope she continues doing this. It's something she's really good at. It'd be a shame for her to leave so early into her career. I feel like she's so young in this game, dude.
Yeah, and I know Rose is a very likable fighter. She's liked by a lot of fans. Maybe fewer after the whole "I don't want to leave my house" thing because of the Dolly incident with Connor, but largely a fan favorite, which is why I think a lot of people were upset at Andrade beating her, especially the way she did. And you saw a lot of horrible things said about Jessica Andrade. She's a man, she's juicing, she's on steroids, this and that. And some of that may be true, but it's all speculation. But one thing you can say about Jessica Andrade that is a fact is she's world champ. So let's not take anything away from her. I mean, she took a beating in that first round, and she came back and she did what she had to do to get the victory and get that belt around her waist. And she's worked hard for it for a long time. For a long time, she fought at 135 pounds because there was no in-between weight class. And she, had to change her lifestyle and eat like weird fruit that makes her shit a lot to lose a lot of weight. That's for anybody who saw the Embedded episode where Jessica Andrade is with her wife in the supermarket. Her wife was telling her which fruit would make her poop so she could lose weight. She dropped. That's a huge cut, Jeff. At the time, there was no 125-pound division, so she had to cut 20 pounds to move down to 115 to fight girls closer in size to her. So she paid her dues fighting, much larger women for a long time. And if she's able to make a good run at 115, I wouldn't be surprised to see her move up and challenge for that flyweight belt as well down the line, because I think that's a weight class that's very well suited for her. But she's got the gold here. I don't know what's next. I'll tell you one person who's happy about the outcome of this, and that has to be Joanna Jędrzejczyk, the former champion, who kind of showed she was a little too small for flyweight in her fight with Valentina Shevchenko. But, going back to her division of 115 meant going back to a division with a champion who's beaten her twice. Now there's a champion who she has beaten once. So that's somebody who's going to be happy about that. Not a lot of people happy, especially in the crowd last night with the outcome of the co-main event. Jared Cannonier with a TKO victory over Anderson Silva. I just have to say what a great job Herb Dean did here, because he recognized immediately that Anderson Silva was not just chopped down by a leg kick, but that he was injured. He may have blown his knee out. I don't know exactly what the injury was, but Jared Cannonier landing a monstrous inside leg kick with 11 seconds to go in the first round. And, you can see something went horribly wrong with Anderson Silva's leg. And, we know he's had some gruesome leg injuries in the past. So obviously we hope he's okay. We were saying last week, Jeff, why is he taking this fight with this young killer and Jared Cannonier? And, his body just didn't hold up here. So give me your thoughts on this co-main event.
Yeah, dude. I don't think that Jared Cannonier was doing too much wrong up until that TKO, man. He had to hit that leg kick a couple of times on Silva. Silva hadn't checked it, and Jared Cannonier did a good job not falling for Silva's mind games and the stuff he does with his hands. He was very focused. Good job to Jared Cannonier. It's just a shame the way the fight ended. We've seen Silva break his leg before, and to see another leg injury like that before they could even get rolling, really, it's a shame. But not to take anything away from Jared Cannonier, man. He knew what he was out there to do. He was targeting the legs with the leg kicks. I thought it was a really good strategy. And also, shout out to Herb Dean, dude. We give him a lot of shit when he makes a mistake, but he definitely saved Anderson Silva last night, man. As soon as Silva went down, Herb Dean sprinted over and got Jared Cannonier off of him before anything worse could happen.
Yeah. I mean, you can't really deny Jared Cannonier for what he did.
Yeah.
He's in there doing his job. It's not his fault. He was given a fight with an older fighter who maybe isn't held together as well as he used to be. He did what he had to do to win the fight. He didn't show as much respect maybe as Israel Adesanya did in their last fight and his fight with Anderson Silva. Cannonier is looking to make a statement and climb the rankings as someone who's fairly new to this middleweight division. He wants to take out the former champ, and that's what he did. And the crowd hated it because they saw, a hero of Brazil and someone in Anderson Silva who hasn't fought in Brazil in a long time get hurt. So I guess you can understand why they were upset. Another Brazilian who didn't have such a great night was Jose Aldo, but Alexander Volkanovski just showing what a tough competitor he is. I would imagine this win over Jose Aldo will result in a title shot for Volkanovski. Give me your thoughts on this fight, Jeff.
Yeah, dude, Volkanovski went out there with the right game plan. Jose Aldo didn't do too much wrong, but Volkanovski just, very technical in his striking and really working Jose Aldo over, making Jose Aldo fight backwards, pinning Jose Aldo up against the cage with clinches, working his legs, making Jose Aldo really carry a lot of weight on his legs with the grappling and the clinching. So I think Volkanovski, he did what he had to do, and he even said it himself. It wasn't, his preferred way of winning. He would rather finish Aldo, but he went in there, didn't get frazzled by this really hostile crowd, and, just went in there with the right game plan. And Bill, I just want to say that when I get married someday, I want to marry someone who loves me as much as Brazil loves Jose Aldo, man. The crowd exploded when he came out there. I think they were more excited for his fight than Anderson Silva, man.
Yeah. I mean, for sure. He's a guy who really represents Brazil through and through, and he's a true success story. He came out of the favelas and worked his way out of there and became, a world superstar athlete. So really a great story to Jose Aldo. I mean, still he's hanging in there with a top contender, a guy who could be a champion one day, and he didn't get finished or anything. So I don't think it's the last we see of Jose Aldo. Still only 32 years old. You have to remember. So, great performance by Volkanovski. Straight punches and leg kicks and clinch pressure. And that's key to beating Jose Aldo, who throws a lot of whipping strikes. His kicks are very whip out and back in, and his punches as well. So the counter to that is everything right down the pipe. Pressure and straight punches. And, that's all I needed. Laureano Staropoli, I think, a little surprised that he got the victory over Thiago Alves in Brazil. He seemed a little shocked when they read the decision. How did you see this one going, Jeff?
Bill, I was even more surprised than Staropoli here because I thought Thiago Alves had done enough in rounds 2 and 3 to win. Staropoli in this fight in the first round, he was throwing a lot of flashy stuff, man, a lot of spinning things. But and maybe he won the first round, but I didn't think so. I think Thiago Alves did enough to win all 3 rounds. He was very technical, especially in rounds 2 and 3. Thiago Alves turned it up and was shutting down all those flashy things that Staropoli was throwing at him in the first round. So I feel like Thiago Alves got robbed a little bit here. I'm not too upset that he lost, but I don't think that was a fight where he did too much wrong. Maybe he lost the first round, but in rounds 2 and 3, he was in Staropoli's face more. He was really pressuring Staropoli and just very technical with his striking, throwing everything down the middle. A lot of things were landing, Bill. So I think Alves probably deserved to win this one.
Yeah, I was a bit surprised at this one too. Alves, of course, always dangerous in that first round, but tends to find his rhythm as the fight goes on, and that's what it looked like. And when the fight is that close and it's in Brazil, you assume it's going to go to the Brazilian. But I guess they called it how they saw it, and they saw it differently than you and I. So that's that. We didn't need the judges in the other female fight, Irene Aldana and Bethe Correia. Bethe missing weight by 6 pounds, which is disgusting. But luckily she got submitted. So beautiful submission by Irene Aldana. So Bethe Correia was in on a single leg, and Irene Aldana defended it perfectly. She was able to sneak around to Bethe's back, but she got a little bit too high, but she was able to snag an arm bar as she was sliding off. And, you bet your ass she tapped.
Yeah, dude. Really good display from Aldana. Looked like she was in a little bit of trouble up until that point, but and it even looked like she was sliding off of Correa's back here, because they're all sweaty and everything. But Aldana really smart with her legs, wrapped up kind of like an armbar / triangle, and just put Bethe Correia in a world of hurt. But yeah, dude. Correia, what are you doing? Yeah, she could have fought at 145 last night. Not a fan of missing weight. Just don't do it.
Yeah,
just make weight.
And even if you have certain biological functions going on, our good buddy Serena Southpaw says that's no fucking excuse. Yep. So that's what we got to go by, Jeff. We got to go by experts who have the same equipment. Oh man. A couple other things I want to get into here. It's just not a good night for the Brazilians overall. I mean, Bethe Correia gets submitted. Lil Nog gets knocked out by Ryan Spann in the first round. He gets knocked back to the 19th century when he was born. Oh man. Thoughts on this one real quick, Jeff?
Dude, the only good thing that I saw from Lil Nog was submission defense and like a half guard sweep. But other than that, dude, I think he needs to hang up the gloves. Ryan Spann just went in there and just murked him.
Yeah. All right, so moving on down. The last thing I wanted to touch on, and then I'm going to let you take over and tell me about any prelims you caught, because I didn't catch the prelims, Jeff. BJ Penn now holds the record for the longest losing streak in UFC history at 7. Has not won a fight since 2010, 40 years old, doesn't need the money, so he doesn't have to fight anymore. Just stop, BJ. I mean, here's a guy who, 8 years ago, if you asked me, I would tell you, without a doubt, top 5 pound for pound fighter of all time. And now he's trying to be one of the worst. I mean, longest losing streak in history. And the reason he's able to do that is because they let him keep getting in there. People aren't able to string together long losing streaks because they get cut after so many losses, and they only come back after getting wins elsewhere. Obviously, they're not going to let BJ Penn go fight anywhere else, and maybe he's threatened to do so, and that's why they keep putting him on these cards. But fucking stop it. Just stop it. Force the guy to retire. If you want to treat him like a legend and like the Hall of Famer he is, and ignore all the stupid shit he's doing outside of the cage, then treat him the way you treated the legend Chuck Liddell and force him to retire. enough is enough. Can't hang anymore. Can't do it. Hang it up. He doesn't need the money. BJ Penn didn't need the money when he started fighting. Comes from a wealthy family. For those of you who don't know, he runs bjpenn.com, which is one of the biggest MMA news sites out there. He's got several gyms. He's got several businesses, and he also comes from money. He's going to be fine. He doesn't need to fight anybody in a cage. Fucking stop, BJ. All right. Your thoughts on that, Jeff, and any other fights on this card I need to go back and check out?
Bill, you basically summed up my thoughts on BJ Penn.
Happy to oblige.
Bill, the last time BJ Penn, I was a senior in fucking high school, dude. And I was about 100 pounds lighter. Because I was playing soccer every day. Now I don't do that. I just eat Brazilian steaks and don't play soccer every day.
Yeah, that Bethe Correia diet.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not trying to make weight, Bill. But anyway, moving on. Bill, for those of you listening out there, and Bill, in case you missed this one, check out on the prelim card Warlley Alves versus Sergio Moraes. Dude, this fight was just Warlley Alves went to war. I mean, it's in his name. He just picked Sergio Moraes apart, dude. Dude, he picked Moraes apart with leg kicks, super technical striking, and then in the final round 3, he's got about a minute left. There was a flying knee that hits Moraes right on the button, and then finishes him with a nasty uppercut. He just folded over like a lawn chair. If you missed this one, definitely go and check it out. Alves put on a display last night.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. All right, so I definitely want to go back and watch that fight. Probably won't be today, but later in the week, hopefully I'll have an opportunity to go back and check it out. That's if I can find it. It was difficult to find the fights this morning, and I would have put it on my phone at the wedding. I would have ordered it on the ESPN app, but I don't want to fuck with that. Just because we know how that works out. And we found out UFC 236 did under 100,000 pay-per-view buys, which is a fucking disgrace. With the way that card was stacked and how much action was on it and how good that card was, I tried to pay for it. We've talked about this several times, Jeff. You were there. You saw it. You were a witness.
Yep.
I tried on 3 different devices, and then my other buddy tried on his phone. And we tried to give you our money, ESPN. You didn't want to take it, so we had to find other means to watch the fights. So in any case, that'll do it for UFC 237. We also had some Bellator action last night. I'm not going to cover this whole card, but I will talk about the main and co-main real quick. So Patricio Pitbull getting revenge for his brother, who was knocked out by Michael Chandler, I want to say 4 or 5 years ago, and knocks him out in the first round. It may be an early stoppage. It looked like Chandler was okay. He got caught with a shot right behind the ear. It looked like it grazed him, but definitely knocked him off balance a little bit. And then Pitbull jumped on him, and a few hammer fists, but Michael Chandler stood right up after the referee, who I'm looking at this on SureDog. The referee, they always say the name of the referee. The name is just Rob.
Oh man, I don't know why it's so funny, dude.
Yeah, I don't know either. I was laughing when I saw that too. Maybe because he robbed Michael Chandler.
Yeah, I thought this was a bad stoppage, dude. Michael Chandler jumped up. I mean, just Bellator. What are you doing? I wanted to watch this on my phone at the same time that I was watching the UFC card, but it was on the Zone, and I'm not gonna pay for that, especially when ESPN Plus is useless. Like, the sound was off with ESPN Plus, and I know you've heard me complain about this before, Bill, but like, ESPN, come on, dude. You show every other sport under the sun. Let's get it together here.
Yeah. So, I mean, still revenge for Patricio, who his brother Patricky was knocked out just under 3 years ago, June of 2016, by Michael Chandler, which was a devastating knockout. If you've never seen the highlight of that one, So there's a big feud between Chandler and the brothers, and I don't imagine it's going to end now. But you know, good for Patricio. Becomes the second double champ in Bellator history. So that's a big deal. He was both the featherweight and lightweight champion. So cool. Good for him. Bad for Michael Chandler. You know, it was a bad stoppage, but Michael Chandler's a sore loser anyway. So we'll run it back probably because these guys hate each other. The co-main event, what an ending for this one. Douglas Lima and Michael Venom Page. So the way this one ended, spoiler alert, Douglas Lima knocks out Michael Venom Page in the second round. Guys, go back and watch this fight. It was really good. It was just too much experience for MVP, I think, here. So what happened is MVP has this weird sideways karate type stance, and what he does is he feints in and out and puts pressure on his lead leg. And he puts more pressure on his lead leg when he goes to throw his right hand. So that's what he did. He puts all his weight on his lead leg, and he goes to throw a right cross, which comes from really far away, and Douglas Lima timed it perfectly. Kicked that lead leg right out from under him, and on the way down, gave him a punch to send him unconscious on his way down to the mat. So he was just falling from the leg kick, and Lima knocked him out as he was falling down. Pretty spectacular knockout against a guy who is known for spectacular knockouts. Did you catch any of this Bellator card, Jeff, or did you go back and watch any highlights, or what'd you see?
Yeah, I definitely saw the highlights. And dude, Douglas Lima versus Michael Venom Page is definitely a highlight. It's probably going to go on a lot of like MMA top highlights, dude, top knockouts. That was beautiful. As soon as, because Venom Page was throwing this overhand right, and that's when Douglas Lima threw the leg kick, chopped Michael Venom Page down like a tree, and then as he's trying to get up, Lima throws that mean uppercut, and he just falls back. It was bad. It was like, you know, when you hit the snooze button on your alarm clock and then just fall back to sleep. Super bad, but really, really entertaining. And Bill, I just want to hit on one more thing on this Bellator card. Jake Hager, known to pro wrestling fans as Jack Swagger, had his second pro fight against some dude named TJ Jones. Guy works at like a meat locker or something. Had to probably ask for the day off, Bill.
Yeah.
To fly out and take this fight. And, you know, what you think was going to happen happened. Jake Hager slaps on an arm triangle submission. The guy taps in like half a round. People are upset that Jake Hager held on to the submission a little bit after. But, Bill, I don't think that's totally his fault. I think that comes from two things. I think one is inexperience. And two, the ref kind of grabbed TJ Jones' hand right after he tapped. So maybe Jake Hager only felt like the first tap and then just assumed it was nothing. Maybe he didn't feel the tap at all.
Yeah, could be. I'll have to go back and watch that one. I didn't catch that fight, but that was Mike Beltran in there. So I would be surprised if it was a referee error. He was probably, carrying the brunt of the work on this card. we know Rob wasn't doing much of a good job.
Oh man, poor Rob.
Yeah, a few other things on this card. AJ McKee getting a unanimous decision victory over Pat Curran. That's a big deal. AJ McKee, very promising prospect, and so is Taiwan Claxton getting another knockout victory over some guy named James Bennett. But I'm kind of glad they're bringing up Taiwan Claxton slowly. He's a very exciting fighter to watch. So I plan to go back and watch some of that. Real quick, Jeff, we got some more action coming up next weekend. UFC Fight Night 152 from the Blue Cross Arena in Rochester, New York. And it's headlined by Rafael Dos Anjos, and Kevin Lee is making his welterweight debut. Give me your thoughts on this main event, Jeff, because I'm pretty fucking excited about it.
Yeah, dude, I'm really excited to see Dos Anjos get back in there. And Kevin Lee, we've talked about how he kind of struggles to make weight. I think we've talked about seeing him go up to welterweight. Bill, I think he's going to rock the house, man. This is really exciting. We've seen Dos Anjos struggle with wrestlers who get in his face and can keep him pinned down. And Kevin Lee might be able to do that, man. I think this is a great way to I think this is a great main event. I love it.
Yeah, for sure. He does struggle with that. And Kevin Lee, I've said before, has some of the best MMA wrestling in the game. The way he mixes his strikes with his takedowns is picture perfect. So I think it's a good first fight for him at welterweight too. You know, another guy who used to fight at lightweight. You know, Kevin Lee's been advocating for this 165-pound division. They're not making it, so you know he's only gonna have more trouble as he gets older to make 155. So he had to make the decision to move up. Hopefully he stays there. I'm gonna give you a couple other fights, Jeff, that jump out to me, and you tell me what you're most excited about. Neil Magny and Vicente Luque. This is actually a really interesting fight, especially since Vicente Luque is coming off one of the best fights of the year with Brian Barberena. Aspen Ladd puts their undefeated streak on the line against Sajara Eubanks, who probably won't make weight. Antonio Carlos Jr. and Ian Heinisch. That should be a really fun fight. Charles Oliveira and Nick Lentz, two submission specialists going head to head. I really like that fight. And then I'm going to jump down a little bit. We got Patrick Cummins and Ed Herman going toe to toe here, and probably a loser leaves town scenario. And then we also have Zach Cummings. So don't confuse Patrick Cummins with Zach Cummings. And he is fighting the undefeated Traven Giles. And then Juliana Rosa making a UFC comeback here against Julio Arce. Juliana Rosa, season 22 of The Ultimate Fighter, I believe. Very quirky guy, stirred up a lot of shit in the house. That was the Conor McGregor and Uriah Faber season. So tell me what jumps out to you, Jeff, if it's one of the fights I listed or if I skipped over something that you're looking forward to.
Yeah, Bill, the fight that jumps out the most to me, I'll give you two. One is Aspen Ladd versus Sajara Eubanks. You know, Aspen Ladd undefeated, really making her way through this women's bantamweight division, tearing up the division. Sajara Eubanks probably going to weigh in at 185 pounds for that one.
What's the over under that she weighs in higher than Megan Anderson?
Oh man, yeah, dude. I really think she should move up to 145. But the other fight that really sticks out to me is Charles Oliveira versus Nick Lentz. Two very good grapplers, very good submission artists. Oliveira doing a really good job of stringing some wins together. I'm a big fan of his. I like that he focuses a lot on jiu-jitsu. He's improved his striking too. So this is really going to be a fun fight. So those two, I'm really excited for the Megan Anderson fight. But this card, it's got a lot of gems on here, Bill. And I think that the UFC needs to draw a little bit more attention to some of these fight nights.
Yeah, it's a fun card for sure, especially for a fight night. I feel like there was not a lot of hype going into this pay-per-view. I imagine it's going to do south of 50,000 buys. I think that's maybe a bold statement, but I think probably a factual one. All right, Jeff, anything else you want to get off your chest? Because unfortunately, I got to wrap it up here.
Bill, that's all I got for you this week. I finally made an Instagram, so I got like 3 pictures on there. But other than that, Bill, enjoy the rest of your Mother's Day. Everybody out there, hopefully everybody's mother has an awesome Mother's Day. Take them out to eat or something.
Yeah, and make sure your mother has an awesome Mother's Day. Give her a call, FaceTime her, let her see your kids. Take her out to dinner if you live nearby, or order food and watch some movies like Jeff is going to do. So make your Mother's Day special, you pricks. All right. That's all we got. Short episode this week, but hopefully you guys had a good time. If you want to get a hold of Jeff, it's at @animal_Wilson on Twitter and Instagram. You guys know how to get a hold of me. It's at MMA on the Rocks. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, anywhere you want to go. MMAonTheRocks.com. Send me an email, MMAonTheRocks@gmail.com. Leave us a review wherever you happen to be listening. Please rate the show. It does help us out a lot. And that's it. Until next time. Cheers, everybody. Goodbye.